Yo, what's up? Welcome to Numbers with Jacari. I'm your host, Jacari, but you already know, call me Ace. And in this episode, we're talking about this month, March 2024, because we're now in a Universal 2 month. The last month was a Universal 1 month. We're still in a Universal 8 year. And this is so interesting because of the reflection between 2 and 8, which I'll talk about in a second. But we're going to talk about so much stuff in this episode. We're going over all the Universal days, how the energy of this month is going to start, how it's going to end, everything that's encapsulated in it, because it's so interesting. Now, starting with this reflection, 2 and 8 sit in this reflection. Reflections are two numbers that sit on opposite sides of the same vibration. Now, 8 connects to like the enforcement of boundaries, whereas like 2 may struggle with enforcing boundaries. Or another example is 8 highlights a physical, whereas 2 highlights an emotional and a spiritual. So in a sense, opposites. So when we're looking at what this reflection will embody, 2 being ruled by the moon, highlighting a comfort, a desire, an intimacy, a connection and care, but also on the other side, insecurity, obsession, inconsistency, addiction, and deception. It's a lot going on there. And then you have the supposed opposite side, being that 8 being ruled by Saturn and Pluto, highlighting stability, structure, work, and consistency, as well as discipline, but also trauma, power imbalances, controlling tendency, greed, and humiliation. So when we bring all of these things together, we get a reflection that highlights themes around depth, emotional repression, as well as expression, as well as suppression is also in there as well. You also have boundaries, the enforcement, and also the lack of them, like I said before. You also have confidence and the opposing insecurity. You have impatience and patience, hierarchy and family dynamics, because 2 does connect to the community and the people who you are intimately connected with, as well as generational ties are in that reflection as well, and experiences with immediate and extended family, because 2 is your immediate family and 8 is more of that extended family because it's generational ties. Now, when we look at this in regards to the universal month, in regards to how we're calculating it, which is the calendar month plus the universal year, which would equal the universal month. So we have that third month plus the universal year we're in, which is an 8, that would equal 11, and then that 1 plus 2 would simplify, 1 plus 2, 1 plus 1 would simplify to 2. So we're starting this month in a 2-3-8 energy on a Thursday. Now, 2 being ruled by that moon, 3 being ruled by Mars, Venus, and Jupiter, and then 8 being ruled by Saturn and Pluto. All of these bring themes of depth, but also creative, expressive energy. 2 and 3 bring that creativity and that expression, but also then that 8 brings that depth, as well as 2 brings that depth, but it's depth in different ways, like communal depth in that 2, and more interpersonal depth with that 8, and also physical depth with that 8. So we also have themes around recognition, popularity, fame, and that is very much more emphasized with 3 and 8's themes that they embodied, but it's also supported by the community aspect that 2 highlights in regards to a fan base or supporters, family, friends, partners, whoever, anybody in your community, because also 3 is connecting to social media as well. So this also brings in that theme as well. So I'm intrigued to see how that's going to play out. So if you've been thinking about getting your content creation bag, beloved, tap in. Go ahead. Just tap it. Do it. Take the leap. Take the leap. Take the leap. We also have the action taking or vibe of a strong driving force, because every number has something that's really pushing them forward. 2 is seeking a comfort, a community, a connection, an intimacy, and 3 is seeking this expression, this freedom, a uniqueness, and exploration. And then you also have 8 highlighting or seeking a stability, an order, a consistency, and a power. And that power doesn't always have to be a controlling side. It can be a power through knowledge, a power through experience, a power through literally anything you could think of. And all of those things are just in the beginning of the month. So then when we take a look at the end of the month, we're ending this month in a 2-6-8 energy, and that's going to be on a Sunday. So we have 2 and 8 being the rulers that they already have, and then 6 being ruled by Venus and Jupiter. So that adds a little bit of something in there. But it's similar to 3's energy because they do have 2 of the same rulers. There's just that Mars difference in there that adds a little bit more action orientation at the beginning of the month. So when we get to the end of the month, it's more focused on indulgence and pleasure and comfort and sensuality and desire. And these are all things that 2 and 6 specifically highlight, especially in the indulgence and pleasure and comfort side, as well as intimacy is thrown in there. And it doesn't just have to be sexual intimacy. It can be literally every type of intimacy: the intimacy of having a conversation, the intimacy of a good meal, intimacy of eye contact. Like there's so many different ways you can look at intimacy. And then 8 is supporting that indulgence and that pleasure seeking through time and also stability and structure to make these things happen. And we also have themes around healing and deep release, and this comes from 2 and 6's relationship with healing and comfort. And that's something that you typically gain after a release, because you might have been holding onto some things, because with the emotional repression and suppression that comes with that reflection between 2 and 8, there might be a seeking for freedom in that sense, because that we're starting this month in a free exploratory energy of that 3, but we're ending it in that 6, and 6 loves to feel good, but there also might be the struggle of, okay, well, I have to do the stuff that's not so comfy to get there. But I do encourage you to take those steps, because you do have that support of the depth and the time and the order that 8 brings. So it helps things come together, but allow yourself to explore the depths within so you can pull anything you need to up and out, because baby, you don't need it no more. What you carrying around all that baggage for? Where are you going? where are you going that you still need this? I don't think you still need it. Just let it go. We also have themes around rest, patience, and honesty. So through that healing and that release, there's a patience that has to be there. I'm not gonna say that you're gonna be all spick and span by the end of the month. I ain't saying that. I ain't gonna do that, because healing takes time. So I really want you to be honest with yourself about what you need, and that may be rest, that may be comfort, that may be isolation, that may be community. There's different things for everybody. So whatever you need, if it's a movement, whatever it is, listen and act accordingly. And also allow yourself to be imaginative and creative in the ways that you can make it happen. Because sometimes you might want to hop on a plane and go someplace else, but you can't get on a plane right now. How and what ways else can we travel or explore? What other ways can we get that freedom, that movement that you're seeking in the action of hopping on a plane and going back and whatever? So all of these themes makes this month poke into everybody's experiences with relationships in regards to the depth, the intimacy, and also the longevity / long-term impacts of them, especially in regards to familial relationships, but also all relationship dynamics are in the air. Because of 2's connection to that immediate family, and this is a universal 2 month, it puts a little bit more emphasis on those familial relationships, but it also allows the space for other types of relationships, because 2 just loves to connect. It loves to be close. It loves community. So whatever and whoever is in your community, those things are being tapped into. And then with the impacts of 8 highlighting power, authority, traumas, abuse, but also ultimately time, those things are also coming up. So you might find yourself, in regards to the family impacts, some of those wounds might be making appearance, and they probably here because they want to be handled. So don't ignore them. Just take care of them. Take out the trash, babe. We don't need it no more. We also have a lot of themes around intimacy, where and how you experience it, thoughts around it, perception of it, because of 2's interaction with intimacy, and then again 8's connection to that long-term perspective, but also how there might have been power imbalances in intimate moments. And I want you to really sit with that in broad senses, because that can be a conversation where you were just being spoken over, where somebody kept just interjecting and you just did not get the opportunity to feel heard. And it's like you felt like you were close to that person. You didn't really enjoy that. So really allow yourself to look at how intimacy has played a role in your life and how you would like to evolve that relationship with it. We also have impacts to boundaries, respect or disregarding of them, enforcement or avoidance of them. Now, something I did want to point out is the fact that we're ending this month in a universal 6th day. And And 6 more than 2, however, is very confrontation avoidant, because again, 6 loves to feel good. It's very indulgent. It loves pleasure. It loves harmony, bliss, peace, all of those things. And 2 also ties into that bag, but it's more in of a connection sense that it's seeking those things, whereas 6 is sort of kind of like, I will get pleasure wherever I can find pleasure. So in regards to that avoidance, when it comes to boundaries, 2 and 6 are sort of kind of like, well, if I tell you I don't like this, you might be mean to me, and I don't really like that. So I'm gonna just sit over here and be quiet. So I would like you to let go of those people-pleasing tendencies. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Because you don't need those. You don't need those. You don't need the to sit back and be quiet. Take up the space that you're here to take up. Be loud and proud about the things that you need, because it's your life. We're just living in it. So live it accordingly. So with the lack of boundaries that 2 and 6 can embody, and especially 2 embodies, and the embodiment that 8 has with boundaries, those things are putting it in the forefront. We also have a relationship with emotion. So if you recall, I talked about emotionality earlier in regards to that reflection between 2 and 8, and that is still carried out throughout the rest of the month, of the expression and suppression of it, depression, the processing of emotions, expressing them, shadow work, healing. And 2 and 8's relationship with emotions, of 8 sometimes will just be like very focused on the physical, and emotions aren't physical. You can't see them. They aren't physically in front of you. You feel them, and 8 can sometimes struggle with the processing of that, whereas 2 may not always pay attention to the physical and more pays attention to the emotional. So it's very much finding that balance between the 2 and working through the boundaries and the needs that you have to be able to create whatever outcome you're looking for and whatever is sustainable long term, especially. Now, we also have impacts to health, and this is because 2 is prone to sickness, and it's because of its connection to not only the moon but also water, and how fluid water is. And it's like how, if you think about it with like food coloring or a dye of some sort, if you had a glass of water, the glass is clear, and you drop a single drop of whatever colored dye into the water, it just expands everywhere. And that sort of kind of embodies 2's relationship with sickness. And sickness doesn't always have to be a physical ailment. It can be emotional, it can be spiritual, it can be mental, it can show up anywhere, shape, or form. So that puts health in a very front seat in regards to this month. So resting when needed, allowing care, being teachable about things impacting your health, because a lot of times people can be very stubborn when it comes to somebody being like, hey, you should do this for your health, and they're like, no, I got it. I've been living for however long I've been living. I'm good. I got it. Okay, well, baby, maybe you don't. Maybe you don't, and allow yourself to be teachable to that, because 8 impacts the long term, and the suppression of these things, especially underlying health issues, might show face this month. So I would like you to be mindful of that. Now, if you are liking what you're hearing, make sure you share it on your socials and tag me at Numbers with Jacari on Instagram or TikTok. Make sure you book your free consultation, because I would love to help you understand the personal impacts of your numbers. So definitely check all the direct links in the description of this episode. And now let's continue with this March forecast, but looking at the universal days. Now, if you tuned in to the other universal, or rather monthly forecasts for January and February, I pointed out the impactful days. And as a numerologist, it's only fair that I give everybody the access to the impactful days, because in reality, every day is impactful. It's just sort of kind of like, where is the impact happening? How will it interact with everybody? I will say that I'm not going to go in super depth. I will go as in depth as I can with the general information that I have in regards to the fact that the way that each universal day will impact me is likely not going to impact you the same way. We have different numerology, we have different day-to-day lives, we have different experiences, different thought processes. There's so many differences in regards to how we are as people that would put this universal or general information in a weird bag if I would try to pinpoint it to every single person. So bear with me and listen for your numbers. So this, I want you to really pay attention to your psychic number, which is based off the day that you're born. I want you to consider if you were born if you were born on a two-digit day, I want you to take into account those 2 digits, but also take into account the number that they simplify to. And if you have to simplify again, those numbers as well. So let's say you're born on the 29th. I want you to take into account 2 and 9, and then 2 plus 9 equals 11. I want you to take into account the ones that are in that 11, and then it would simplify to a 2 again. So you want to pay attention to 2, 9, and 1 in regards to the numbers that I'm about to list. Now, before we get into all the details, how we calculate universal days is the same way that you calculate your life path number, actually. So the calendar month, the calendar day, and the calendar year equals the universal day. And this is why the universal day doesn't always match the calendar day. So you'll hear people say, oh, it's the universal 6th day, but it's the 14th or something. It's like, that's not a 6. What are you talking about? So that's sort of kind of where that plays in. If you'd also like to, you can pay attention to all the days in regards to who it's impactful for, most likely, as well as your destiny number and your name number. You can pull those numbers as well, and you can check those in the free guide that's in the description. But okay, getting into these universal days. So we're starting in that universal 3 day, and that would be any days that are the 1st, the 10th, the 19th, and the 28th. Take note of these days because they're most likely impactful for those who are born with 1, 3, or 9 in their numbers. So for example, if you're born on the 1st, the 3rd, the 9th, the 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th, 15th, 16th, 17th, 18th, 19th, 21st, 23rd, 28th, 29th, 30th, or 31st. These are the days that you want to pay attention to. And I want you to do that same little bit of math in your own head because I'm not doing that again. But anyways, these are numbers that are ruled by, or rather 3 is a number that is ruled by Jupiter, Mars, and Venus. And it has a calendar 1 day energy, so the sun is also brought in there. So the energy of this day, or these universal 3 days on these 1st, 10th, 19th, and 28th of this month will bring a creativity and indulgence, most importantly, because of 1 and 3's love to express. They love to take up space, be bright, and be bold and out there. Now, at the exact same time, especially on the psychic number side, these are some of the most introverted people ever. So there's also a introversion, there's an isolation, there also might be some blocks around creativity, there also might be some recklessness and impulsivity, so be mindful of that. There's also an energy around building blocks of taking the steps to do something, to create something. And this is because with these universal 3 days happening on calendar 1 days, and we're in a universal 2 month, it brings an emphasis or a recognition to the pattern of 1, 2, 3. So this sort of kind of is just like a progression. We're moving somewhere. There's also an energy of internal power that can be transmuted into external power. Now, this is because 1, 3, and 8 highlight a level of confidence, leadership, focus, drive, and action, as well as movement. So it's encouraging you to take those steps. So what do I want you to do with this energy? I want you to be intentionally authentic. Use these days as launch pads to do whatever feels good in regards to, I changed that. Do whatever feels bold, whatever feels authentic, even if it's not comfortable, because I think sometimes people will emphasize, do what feels good. Well, I will tell you from firsthand experience, doing the scary things is not always comfortable. It doesn't always feel good, but the scary things are sometimes the things that you gotta do. So I want you to put on your brave face and take that leap. I want you to embrace the confidence. Do the things that you've been holding yourself back for. So take that deep breath and just go for it. You only live once. Live it to the absolute fullest is what I want you to do. I also want you to take the steps towards what you're trying to achieve, especially the emotionally important things. So if that's been healing, it's healing. But if it's also even just speaking your mind, speak your mind, baby. Whatever it is that you've been trying to get yourself to do, or even if it's like starting that project, start that project, babe. Do whatever you've been holding off and holding yourself back from, because with this 1, 2, 3 energy, you have those building blocks and that progression and that forward movement and emphasis on new pursuits. But 2 and 8 also brings that emphasis to family, so you also might feel like you want to speak up and take the actions where needed. So that can be conversations, that can be setting boundaries, that can be letting them know what has changed. This can be removing them from your life. Whatever it is that you feel like you need to do, especially whatever you've been holding off emotionally, baby, I want you to just take that leap, please. Take that leap. Now, when we get to universal 4 days, because we're gonna go through all the universal days. We gonna be here for a second, so lock in. Universal 4 days are going to be on the 2nd, the 11th, the 20th, and the 29th. So this is impactful for anybody who has 2, 4, or 8 in their numbers, and that means anywhere in their numbers, supplementarily or dominantly in their numbers, wherever it may be. Write these days down, because these are ruled by Uranus, North Node, Rahu, Mercury, and Saturn, as well as the moon, because you have 4 being ruled by all those first rulers of that Uranus, North Node, Rahu, Mercury, and Saturn, and then these are all happening on calendar 2 days, which is ruled by the moon. So this energy is a pushing of suppressed emotions or thoughts to the surface, in probably a seeking of release. And I say this because 4 has a very much a energy of pulling the rug out from under you. And you're sort of kind of like, well, I just fell on my ass. I ain't really like that. Why'd you do that? It's because the rug was on fire. So whatever you've been pushing down and whatever you've been ignoring, let it come up, let you feel it, and let it go. Let it go. Let it go. Let it go. Wherever it needs to go, it can go. You don't need it no more. Because I also want you to be very prepared for these quick changes, disruption, unplanned actions, and spiritually guided shifts, especially because of this 4's just in a sense reckless energy, very chaotic of I'ma just do this because I know this needs to be done. So allow those things to happen. There's also an emphasis around mental stimulation because of the mercurial energy that 4 embodies. So this can bring new ideas, visionary things, notable or weird dreams, themes around insomnia, racing thoughts, talking fast, multitasking, feeling like your brain is scattered. That's also in this energy. So what do I want you to do with all this mental stimulation and chaos? I want you to set some intentions. I want you to set some intentions, because there will never be order without chaos first. And with 4 and 8's Saturn rulership and their connection to money, stability, comfortability, and also a level of rebellion, I want you to take that and build off of it, because the world is a wild place. It's a wild place, and if it was boring, how much fun would it really be? That's the weird thing about like healing. It's like it's really boring when you're in like a comfortable or safe environment or space for long periods of time. Is like when you've gotten used to being safe, you're sort of kind of like, this is boring. So I want you to use the chaos of it all to set intentions and sort of kind of find your stability through the chaos, because it doesn't have to be what you've been taught of. It has to be time blocking or really concrete plans. It doesn't have to be that. Do whatever feels emotionally or spiritually guided because of that 2 energy, but also do what you feel like should be done. And it doesn't matter if it feels good. Because again, I'm gonna tell you, first-hand experience, it might not feel good. So allow yourself to be honest, because you have to sometimes push through that anxiety and just get it done, whatever it may be. I also really want you to work on regulating your nervous system for these universal 4 days, because 4 is anxiety and prone, 8 it naturally suppresses some things, and 2 can struggle with regulating intense emotions. So I want you to indulge in what it means to regulate your nervous system and how you can regulate your nervous system. I already know that you can do this through breath work. There's a couple of different breathing techniques. Feel free to DM me on Instagram or TikTok to get those from me. There's also yoga nidra that you can do. There's so many different ways you can help regulate your nervous system, but I do recommend you also take the time to go and do your own research and work with your own body, because your body is in my body and my body is in your body, so it might work a little bit different. So I do want you to do that, as well as move your body to get out of your head. So like I said before, the mental stimulation that 4 has can sometimes be a little overwhelming and just a lot going on. So I want you to change your surroundings, get some fresh air, go for a walk, even open a window, something. just make it a little bit different. This can also be even working out or dancing, stretching your hips out, something. I want you to just shift the energy, because sometimes that's what you need. Because when you are sitting in these deep thoughts, whatever they may be, positive or negative, especially the negative ones, you can sort of kind of get stuck. So I want you to move your body to help you get out of your brain a little bit. Now, when we get to these universal 5 days that are happening on the 3rd, the 12th, the 21st, and the 30th, these are impactful for people who have 1, 3, 4, 5, 7, and 9 in their numbers. And this energy is ruled by Mercury and Jupiter dominantly. And then because of this calendar 3 day, we'll have Jupiter, Mars, Venus supplementary or secondarily to this energy. So overall, this is a very intellectually stimulating energy. So this is a lot of things around the mind. This can be new ideas. This can be just new processing, deep communication, understanding, comprehension, learning new knowledge. But this also comes with some brain fog, maybe some lack of focus, ADHD, headaches, migraines. Just, it might not be that fun. It might feel a little chaotic. You might be like, I was doing something. Wait, what? What's going on? I missed something. What? So there's some of that going on in there, but there's also an adventurous, exploratory, curious, and inquisitive energy as well. So I really want you to explore that, whether that's going outside, reading a book, watching a documentary, or even like an action film or a kid's show, whatever it may be. Explore. Be adventurous, try some new stuff, and being like, okay, well, I didn't really know what I was getting myself into, but we're here now. This can also be learning a new hobby. I just recently got back into crocheting. I might have started a problem, but that's a conversation for another day. I also want you to really be creative. Don't be afraid to make a mess. And I say this because 5 and 3 both embody a very childlike energy. So allow your inner child to heal by playing freely. I feel like a lot of us have, and also just say a lot of people have grown up with people or parents who did not allow them to mess up. So I want you to play. I want you to do it and be not ashamed of the messes that are made. That is not the focus. I want you to make the mess. I do know that you will have to clean the mess. I'm aware. But I do want you to just enjoy and be present in the moment of creating freely and playing the way that you should have as a child. Now, what to do other than the playing? I want you to also learn something new. Make sure you're being teachable, because 3 and 5 highlight a student-teacher access. I, again, want you to play, whatever that might look like, but I also want you to especially allow space for freedom and impulsivity, but also spur of the moment type things. I want you to sort of kind of ignore the plan, not fully, and if you gotta pay attention to the plan, pay attention to the plan, but also sort of kind of just let yourself be like, you know what? This is what I want. I'm gonna do this thing, whatever it may be. I want you to really allow yourself to just go for it. Now, when we get to Universal 6 days, those are happening on the 4th, the 13th, the 22nd, and the 31st. And these are impactful for 2s, 3s, 4s, 6s, and 8s in their numbers. So this is dominantly ruled by Venus and Jupiter with that 6. And then with that 4, you have Uranus, the North Node, Rahu, Mercury, and Saturn because of that calendar 4 day. Now, what makes these days important and very special in my eyes, in my numerological brain eyes, is the reflection between 4 and 6, making it internally focused. There's an internalization that happens with reflections. So whereas 4 is more spiritually focused, 6 is more physically focused. So that's very interesting. So you're going to experience it. It's likely that you're going to experience some spiritual and energetic and even physical shifts with these days. There's also emphasis around pleasure, passion, bliss, intimacy, care, and nurturance, because like I said before, 6 loves to feel good. So really indulge, but also there's a highlighting of selfishness, obsession, and greed in that energy as well. So be mindful. Don't be too stingy with it now. Just you do what feels good for you, but be mindful of how it's going to impact other people as well. Now, there's also emphasis around creativity, artistry, expression, and visionary pursuits, because 4 and 6 both love to create. 4 is more action-oriented, so it's bringing that movement and initiation to it of, okay, yes, I'm going to do this thing. But 6 is also very intentional with aesthetic and making sure it not only looks good, but it feels good as well. So allow yourself to, color, draw, be a little artist if you will, but also create in other ways as well. So what I want you to do with this energy is be intentional with care, pleasure, and like rejuvenation things. So this can be taking the time to really show yourself love and care through rest, through creativity, listening to your body and doing healing things, whatever those things are, whether it be something like cooking or even cleaning or coloring or even nothing, whatever would be healing for you and would be pleasure oriented for you or rejuvenating for you. I really want you to be intentional with those things. I also want you to trust your gut, because 4 is spiritually guided, so allow spirit to sort of kind of take the wheel. It doesn't mean that you like completely was like, I ain't gonna hold on to this no more. Be reasonable. Sometimes you will have to take your hands all the way off, but sometimes you don't. So again, trust your gut, okay? It's yours. Listen to it. Now, I also want you to find comfort in your energy and desires and indulge in them. So be a little bit delusional. Let your heart create the environment of healing for you so you can find comfort in that energy of your desires, whatever that may be. Now, Universal 7 days are happening on the 5th, the 14th, and the 23rd. So this is going to be impactful for people who have 3, 5, and 7 in their numbers. So 7 is ruled by Neptune, the South Node, Ketu, and Mercury. And then 5, which is the calendar day, is ruled by Mercury and Jupiter. So the energy of the day is very mentally stimulated because of all that mercurial energy in there. So things around research, reading, deep dives, focus, seeking of knowledge and understanding, learning, teaching, deep thought, and even processing are all thrown into the limelight. Now, there's also themes around overthinking, intrusive thoughts, migraines, and also unregulated nervous system that's also in there. So I really want you to bear with me through this day. I will tell you what I want you to do in a second, but those are all very mentally stimulating things that are going to be in this energy of this 5 and 7, especially with the 7 universal day, but that 5 calendar day is still important. So there's also a theme around reminiscing, and this is because 7's connection to the past in that South Node rulership, and sort of kind of that Ketu, but majority in that South Node. And 5's connection to processing and comprehension. So this can be searching for closure. This can also be searching for familiarity, for comfort, for certainty. And I'll say you only, but you typically find those things in the past of reprocessing, re-looking through all the files of your life and all of those things and sort of kind of just going through and just reminiscing. So there's also themes that also connects to nostalgia, which also is highlighted by the number 7. So that's in the energy as well of that day. But there's also deja vu, because 7 is regarded as the number of spirituality, but as the spirituality is specifically inner knowing focused. So this might be some things around you had this dream and now it's happening real time type vibe. So I want you to be mindful of that. Now, what do I want you to do with this energy, especially in regards to all that mental stimulation? I want you to regulate your nervous system. I said it already before, but I'll say it again. Regulate your nervous system because of 5 and 7's connection to the nervous system. So there's that Yoga Nidra meditation that I was talking about. But I also would say that if you aren't one that's fond of meditation or doesn't feel very confident in meditation, I will say Yoga Nidra is a guided meditation. But if you're not comfortable in that, I would say cinnamon tea. Cinnamon tea is a great place to start. Cinnamon is a natural anti-inflammatory. It's great for the nervous system. So go ahead and get you some cinnamon sticks, cinnamon powder. You ain't got to put a lot in there. Put it in there. You can even mix it with another tea blend and drink it. You gonna feel better. I also want you to learn or teach something as well, because 5 and 7 both love that intellectual stimulation. I also want you to ground yourself within personal awareness. So this is accepting what you know, accepting what you don't know, where you are, and also the truth that all of it can change. So it's a sort of kind of learning to let go, because 7 is formless and boundless, and it's a lot of people will talk about grounding and really being stable where you are. It's like, yes, be stable where you are, but I want you to put the emphasis with your internally, not necessarily the physical, because the physical is constantly moving, constantly shaking, constantly changing, and so is the internal. But there's more of a single-handed control that you have in the internal space. So I want you to accept these things, because it's sort of kind of closure in that accepting that, I don't know everything. It's in that seeking of knowledge, because information is endless, and 7 is aware of that. So, accept what you do know and let go of the rest, and just allow yourself to be aware of that. Now, we only got a couple more days left. Universal 8 days are going to be happening on the 6th, the 15th, and the 24th. So this is going to be impactful for anybody who has 2, 4, 6, or 8 in their numbers. And this energy is ruled by Saturn and Pluto dominantly. And because of this calendar 6 days, you're going to have Venus and Jupiter supplementarily. Now, the overall energy of these days is deep intimacy, connection, healing, and understanding, as well as processing, because 8 loves a good depth. It loves some depth, but also 6 highlights that intimacy that comes with depth, because you sort of kind of can't have one without the other. So in that depth and in that intimacy, there also might be a seeking for stability and comfortability. What else is in there? Familiarity, as well as certainty. And this is because of 8's connection to the physical. So this also highlights the man-made world. So it's trusting in what is seen, but also 6 being that calendar day also reminds you to trust what you feel as well. So there's also the energy of extravagance. So I want you to also be mindful of that, because 6 loves to indulge, and 8 might just provide the stability to make it bigger and better, because they both connect to money. So be mindful. Be mindful to not blow a band on something that you don't need to band a band on. Be mindful. So what I want you to do with this energy, other than not spend a band on something you don't need to spend a band on, is understand your relationship with money, with authority, power dynamics, etc., things around those lines, and how they impact your day-to-day life, especially leading into the long term. Because I've heard so many times personally that a lot of people who are older really wish that they had done better with their money in like their 20s. So making sure you're setting yourself up for financial success, especially in this society that we live in, and also just learning about it, understanding it, because 8 and 6, like I said before, both connect to money and wealth. So being mindful of that is very crucial, as well as assessing your perspective and your perception of the physical world and looking at them from a different perspective. I think that a lot of times when you look at the world, you're looking at it from your perspective, of course, but I really want you to be intentional and sort of kind of push the envelope a little bit and look at it from a different perspective. Even if you're comfortable with the way that you think about things, I just sort of kind of want you to try it. I want you to fuck around and find out a little bit. That's what I'm saying. That's what I want you to do, because with 8 highlighting this depth, and 6 can sometimes struggle with a comfortability, or rather a confrontation of pain, because it's not the desired comfort or peace. I really want you to sort of kind of push past that avoidance of discomfort and see where you can go with that. I want you to interact with it and not be afraid of it so much. So allow yourself to explore the depths, whatever they may bring. I also want you to heal your relationship with hard work, consistency, discipline, and productivity, because 8 rules over all of those things. But I also want you to be mindful that those things don't have to be bad. Consistency and discipline and productivity don't have to be bad things, and they also don't have to be hard things. Work also doesn't have to be hard. So I want you to allow yourself to change the way that your brain thinks about productivity, because productivity doesn't mean that you got all the tasks on the to-do list done. It doesn't have to be that. Rest is productive, sleep is productive, eating is productive. Everything can really be productive. But I really want you to be able to figure out for yourself what productivity looks like for you. Now, when we get to Universal 9 days, they're happening on the 7th, the 16th, and the 25th. And these are going to be impactful for those who have 1, 3, 4, 7, and 9 in their numbers. And this is an energy that's dominantly ruled by Mars and Neptune. Neptune and the South Node, Ketu, and Mercury are setting a little bit more supplementary because of that calendar 7 day. But overall, the energy of this day is very spiritually charged. 7 and 9 both connect to spiritual spaces. 7 is more that internal spirituality, those internal needs, but 9 is more of this release and this transmutation of energy and of freedom. So transmutation or transmutation is in that energy, as well as growth, evolvement, completion, and transition. But there's also some themes around mental health. So this can be mental breakthroughs, clearer thinking, a deeper understanding, but also intrusive thoughts, anxiety, depression, frustration, anger, impulsivity, recklessness are all thrown in there in regards to how it impacts the mind. There's also some themes around imagination, dissociation, adventure, and as well as just the overall journey that is existing and is life. Because 7 and 9 are both very mentally stimulated in their connection to mental health. I want you to allow yourself to adapt to whatever is in the present and also whatever shows up in the present, whatever it may be. So what do I want you to do exactly with this energy? Well, first of all, shadow work. Great time for shadow work. I know that a lot of people don't want to do the shadow work, but baby, this universal 2-month is the time. Go ahead and get it done before she comes back for you. She's not gonna feel that great. I also want you to do forms of therapy as well as forms of meditation. I think a lot of times people will hear therapy and think only talk therapy. There are many other types of therapy that don't require talking. And I want you to look into those other types of therapies because they might help you more than talk therapy. Because sometimes you don't need to talk it out. Sometimes you need to draw it out. Sometimes you need to walk it out. Therapy is different for everybody. And the same thing with meditation. It doesn't have to be a sit there, eyes closed, focusing on your breathing. Sometimes for a lot of different people, art is very meditative, cooking is very meditative, cleaning is very meditative, cleaning for me is very meditative, and it's also healing. So I really want you to do those types of things on this universal 9-day, as well as intentional release. Because of 9 and 7's tendency to dissociate, I really want you to take the time to do those intentionally focused, okay, I'm going to do the work. I also want you to do some creative things, whatever that might be, drawing, cooking, painting. Obviously, I'm drawing cooking in here. If you make a plate, make one for me, please send it my way. Thank you. But I also want you to ground yourself internally. If you heard the Universal 7 portion, I want you to do, I already talked about the grounding yourself in that personal internal energy. And what I want you to do with these universal 9 days where it differs from that 7 is I want you to recognize where you've grown. I want you to understand and recognize where things have changed and will change. And the fact that ultimately time is an illusion. So if you're feeling behind, baby, no, you are right on time. And it's definitely easier to understand that, or easier said than done to understand that. But I really want you to sit with that of just like, your life, the life you've lived up until now is the life that you've lived. You can wonder about the future and you can also enjoy the present. There's nothing wrong with where you are at. So figure out what you can do to enjoy your journey more and allow yourself to be present in the journey, because the journey is truly the destination. Now, when we get to Universal 1 days, those are happening on the 8th, the 17th, and the 26th. So these are impactful for those who have a 1, 2, 4, 8, and 9 in their numbers. And it's dominantly ruled by 1 energy, which is Sun energy, and more supplementarily ruled by Saturn and Pluto energy with these calendar 8 days. Now, there's this energy around confidence and ambition and taking actions towards something more, because 8 loves consistency. Now, both numbers are very ambitious because 1 also loves to start things. So embrace this confidence, embrace this ambition, and take up the space, my love. Take up the space, because also there's a magnetization and amplification and also an ultimate inspiration that is embodied in these energies, because 1 and 8 love to take up space. So embrace and embody that energy and take up the space in the ways that you want to. Take up the space in the ways that you already do, and sort of kind of own it, because baby, it's your space. Again, I will say, it is your world. We're just living in it. There's also some energy around rebellion, innovation, individuality, and self-belief. This also brings in themes around imposter syndrome and conformity. So I really want you to embrace the change. I want you to embrace the uniqueness, the originality of 1. And also, a lot of people don't really talk about 8's love of rebellion because it understands that things will change with time. So allow yourself to embrace the changes and welcome the new things as they come. And that newness is definitely highlighted in that 1 energy. Now, what do I want you to do with this energy? I want you to take the action towards the things you've been putting off, procrastinating, okay? Because I know, we're here together. We're here together. Stop procrastinating. Go ahead and get it done. Because the thing is, 1 loves to start things, but can struggle with the follow through a lot. And 8 can sometimes hyperfixate on the details, making it move a little bit slower. So I want you to use the blend of energy to sort of kind of support each other, of 1 being like, okay, let me take the action, and 8 being like, let me sustain this action so we can actually follow through. I also want you to build the systems to help it all come together, and discipline is needed for that, which is embodied by 8. So it's going to help the things come together, especially long term. It might not be comfy all the time, but focus and get it done. You have a goal in mind. Let's get there. I want you to be patient and allow the space for things to come together, because a lot of times when you start something, you want to see results immediately. I've been there. We've been there. We're here together. I want you to be allowing of the space for it to come together when it comes together, and not be so strict with a time limit. Now, finally, the universal 2 days are going to be on the 9th, the 18th, and the 27th. And those are going to be impactful for people who have 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, and 7, as well as 9 in their numbers. And this is dominantly ruled by 2, or rather the moon, and supplementarily ruled by Mars and Neptune because of this calendar 9-day energy. Now, the overall energy of the day is very much focused on doing what must be done, whatever that may be. And this is because 2 and 9 both have very strong driving forces. Every number does, but we're focusing on 2 and 9 because it's Universal 2 Day with a calendar 9 day. 2's driving force is very much that community, that connection, that intimacy, that care, that nurturance. And then 9 is that freedom, that adventure, that exploration, that release, just the everything that is out there, the wonder of it all. So there's an ability to sort of kind of be a little bit delusional and just let your mind wander, be imaginative. And that's very much embodied in that energy, as well as that passionate expression. And this can definitely show up as different things like excitement, joy, bliss, but also peace. But on the other side, it can also be a little bit of anger or frustration or annoyance, because these are passionate expressions. Whatever brings, like, sort of kind of lights up the room, and whether it's in a shining bright light or in flames is to be determined. So I really want you to look into that passionate expression and express, because 2 and 9 both have strong sense of emotionality. They just show up a little bit different. Now, there's also an emphasis around emotionally charged action, because 2 was likely to take internal action, but 9 can help with that external action. Now, with that, I really want you to be honest with what drives you. That's what I want you to do with this energy, is be honest about what drives you and recognize and accept how things have changed, because they might not be how they used to be, and they probably aren't. And sometimes that sucks, sometimes it's great, but I want you to process whatever those things are. Process those emotions, process those feelings, process those thoughts around what has changed. I want you to release what no longer serves you, whether it be emotions or beliefs or habits or even people. I want you to release whatever is not serving you and move on and progress forward to whatever you want to serve you. I also ultimately want you to be very creative, imaginative, like I said before, but also ultimately allow your mind to wander, whether that be internally in that self-exploration or externally. Just wonder, reconnect with your body, do the things that you did in your childhood, go outside, color, play, be expressive, take up space, and ultimately feel good. I do know this one was a bit of a long one. I might have split it into 2 parts. We'll see what happens in post-production. But thank you so much for listening. Make sure you share with somebody who wants to know about this month's forecast. And also happen with me to learn more about your numbers. Follow me on Instagram and TikTok at Numbers with Jacari, and I will catch you in the next one. Peace.